All right, so here's where I let off before I got interrupted. So we're going to put our x's in list 1 or y's in list 2. And, you can find both of these places in your calculator by going to just pressing stat and then enter. Like that's all you do. Stat, press enter. So let's go through the process of that. Stat, see the edit pops up, enter. If you got anything in there, you clear it out. And my x's, because these are x and y, are 3, 5, -2, and 6. And the y values are 0, 20, -3, and 5. All right, stat, calc, cubic regression, calculate. Ta-da! I can't tell you how far I would take this out on the test. All depends if I made the question or if I stole it from somebody else. But 4 decimals is what I usually do on stuff. So this is y equals a, which is -1.2095, x to the third, plus b, which is 8.6, and b represents an x squared, plus cx. That decimal point 4666 is kind of special. It can be turned into a fraction. X minus 46.1429. There you go. That's how you do a cubic regression. We did one or two of those Wednesday. 17, which has nothing to do with the current unit. It's about ancient warfare. We launched plague-ridden dead objects into fortifications that were under siege to cause death without ever launching a full assault, caused fear. Imagine you're a trebuchet and fixing to bring death to your enemy. Your knowledge of mathematics is quite advanced for the time, so you know exactly where to set up. You have deduced that with a certain counterweight, your projectile's path can be modeled by the equation height as a function of time is -4t squared plus 90t plus 18. How high in the sky will this plague-ridden object of death get? You can do x equals opposite b over 2a. I strongly encourage you to do. The x-coordinate of the vertex is going to be at -90 divided by, since I'm typing parentheses, 2 times a -0.4. Just to make sure I don't make any mistakes here, even though it takes longer, -90 divided by parentheses 2 times a -0.4 is 112.5. Now this was x, this was time. I should say t coordinate of the vertex because it's t, right? I don't know why it's made in subscript. Anyways, 112.5 seconds. Now, if I want the height at 112.5 is actually what I'm after because it says how high. I'm going to plug that number in. And see what it is. Let me use a storage feature. I'm going to store that to x. I'm going to type in the original equation, -0.4 x to the second plus 90x plus 18. And I get 5,080.5. That's almost a mile. This is not a realistic problem. Almost a mile. Mile, by the way, is 5,280 feet in a mile. Unlikely to happen, but it's a math problem. Who cares? So anyways, some of you are probably curious as to which one of these two things is the answer because I don't think you can read height, feet. You can also support your work with a graph. Some of you will struggle with graphs because you, for some reason, don't understand how to adjust windows. I don't get it. If you do a zoom 6, you won't see anything really. Because the thing just goes, it starts at 18 feet. That's the y-intercept. Here you have the imaginary stuff. But you'd probably struggle, like, you'd probably be that kid who thinks, okay, maybe the x max is 20. You're never going to get anywhere. You're going to have to set the x max to be, or the y max to be at least 6,000. And you're also going to have to look to the right, because it took 112.5 seconds to get to the vertex. So a good window would probably have about 300 for an x max. That would be the whole parabola plus quite a bit more. And then you can do your second trace 4 for maximum. You get left, you press the enter key. You get right, you press the enter key because it's talking about right boundary. And then you press enter again. And there you go, 112.5. Notice the calculator's rounding, but 50,080.5. All right, over what interval of time will the plague rig and Cartus be above 200 feet? This is meant to be done in a calculator, but you're going to have to put a 200 in Y2. And let me steal this so I can highlight it. Most of its path is above 200 feet. Most of the time it is spent is above 200 feet. What I want to know is I want to know how long I'm from here to here. So second trace 5 for intersect. Get my little cursor close. I'm just going to get it close to that intersection. Press enter 3 times. 2.0407 is one boundary. Let's find the other boundary. 2.0407. So second trace 5 again. It ain't hard. Scroll on over till you get close, then press enter 3 times. Once, twice, thrice. 222.9593. Now remember, both of these were in seconds. They were both in seconds. So what matters is if I'm using inequality notation, is that x is stuck in the middle. I probably will use interval form. But those are your two answers, okay? That's what it looks like, depending on which notation I decide to use. Interval or inequality. You set your trebuchet up to hit a certain target 80 foot in the air. How many seconds until you hit this target? Well, you're just going to say 80 equals the equation. It's not going to take long. But the question is, and I should be using x's, not t's. The question is which intersection, obviously. So let's take a look at that. Place that 200 with an 80. I'm just going to leave the window alone. You know, which one? This guy or this guy? Now, if it's this guy, you literally had your trebuchet right up against the target. Not a good idea. So it's got to be this guy over here. That's the one that makes sense. This guy over here is extraneous. So second trace 5. Go for the one that makes sense. Get close to that intersection down there, press enter 3 times, enter, enter, enter. 224.3090 seconds. 234 point, lost my decimal, 3090 seconds. Hopefully you understand how I'm rounding. Hopefully, once again, you are playing along with your calculator and not blindly copying. Play along. I understand it's kind of boring. Play along. Father is 4 times as old as his son. In 20 years, the father will be twice as old as his son. Find the present age of each. Yeah, these can be fun, especially if they're not multiple choice. So a father is 4 times as old as his son. So this is about writing equations in equality. So for equality, all right, say the father is 20. That means the kid would be 5, because 5 times 4 is 20. For equality, the father must equal 4 times his son. So I have the equation F equals 4S. And that's what it's about. It's about equality. A very common misconception is for a kid to say 4F equals son because they saw the 4 next to father. In 20 years, okay, so in 20 years, the father age is 20, and it must be equal to what's happening to the kid. We also talk about being twice as old as the kid. Well, first off, the son aged 20 years, and now he's twice as old. This is the equation that's going to get a lot of kids. So you need to sit there and make sense of it. You have to make sense of it. But the kid has to age first, and then you can double for equality. And that's the hard part. Now, solving these things, I don't care if you do this with matrices or whatever, it might make sense. I'll do both. But everywhere I see an F, I can become 4S. So I'm just going to do substitution because it's quicker than using matrices. 4S plus 20 equals distributive property 2S plus 40. 4S minus 2S is 2S. 40 minus 20 is 20. S is 10. So if the son is 10, then the father is currently 40. So father is 4 of those 10s, which is 40. Now, does this make sense? Yes, 40 is 4 times as old as the kid. In 20 years, this kid would be 30, and the father would be 60. So it's holding. Now, I mentioned you could use matrices. So if you want to use matrices, you're going to have to set each equation. You're going to have to move variables to the to the left, and any numbers to the right, because that's how we do it with matrices. So F equals 4 minus S becomes F minus 4S. And it'd be equal to 0 now. F plus 20 equals 2 times S plus 20. Okay, let's think about this. This F plus 20 equals 2S plus 40. So on the left, I'd have an F minus a 2S, and on the right, I'd have 40 minus 20, which is 20. And then I could go through the process of the calculator. I could go to second matrix. I could scroll to edit. And this particular equation has 2 rows and 3 columns. She is a 2 by 3. We have a 1. We have a negative 4. I know that's in the way there. And we have a 0. We have a 1. We have a negative 2. And we have a 20. Then it's about going to second quitting, second matrix math, double REF, which is 2 below that guy right there. Second matrix, enter, enter. Oddly enough, you got negative numbers there. Isn't that weird? One, negative 4, 0. Oh, I have a typo, that's why. That's supposed to be a 1. Let's try this again. You guys probably saw that at home. Some of you did. Some of you are just blindly copying. There we go. Son is 10, father's 40. Where's 19? Ah, there it is. You have 29 coins made up of pennies, nickels, and dimes and quarters, totaling $2.61. First off, you have 29 coins made up of pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. All right, so the number of pennies plus the number of nickels plus the number of dimes plus the number of quarters must equal 29. They total 261. Now, a penny is worth 1 cent, a nickel is worth 5, a dime's worth 10, a quarter's worth 25, and I'm going to convert this into a whole number, 261. I'm just going to talk about the pennies. $2.61 is 261 pennies. You have half as many quarters as pennies. Half as many quarters as pennies. This one always bothers me for some reason, because you have to have equality. So this one, again, is about one of those equalities. For equality, the number of quarters would be equal to 1/2 the number of pennies. And I know that bugs people. But if you had 4 pennies, you can read the text, you'd have 2 quarters. You have to half the number of pennies for equality. 4 times as many dimes as nickels. 4 times as many dimes as nickels. So the nickels, for the dimes and nickels to be equal, you have to multiply the number of nickels. Kind of a weird equation, right? In other words, it's saying you have 1 dime. Why do I feel wrong on that? If I had 2 nickels, I'd have 8 dimes. Yeah, that's right. Additionally, you have 15 more pennies than nickels. Okay, again, so it's about for equality. You have 15 more pennies than nickels. So pennies is nickels minus 15. No, that's not right. Nickels plus 15. Sorry, the class next door's got me, and I just got really tired for some reason. But if I had 5 nickels, I'd have to have 20 pennies. So this equation makes sense. Now, I want to do this with matrices. So I'm going to have to play with these equations. I've got to get variables on one side and everything else on the other. And the reason I'm doing that is because that's what is required to write what's called the augmented matrix. You just have to do that kind of stuff, whether you want to or not. Now, as tired as I am right now, and as much as this one's got going on, I'm going to spend the time writing the augmented matrix on paper. Because if I don't, I will probably make a mistake. Let's see, we have P, N, D, Q. So I'm looking at this one. This one has 1 quarter and it's take away 0.5 penny, placeholders, 0. This one has 1 dime. We're taking away 4 nickels, placeholders. Oh, there's another row, isn't there? And the last one is p minus n, so 1 penny minus 1n, 0, 0, 15. So this had 4 variables. It had to have 5 equations. So don't be alarmed with that. It's not a big deal because you are doing things in the calculator. Second, matrix, edit. We have 5 rows. We have 4 columns. And then we just type in the coefficients. Oh no. Because I'm an idiot, we have 5 rows and 5 columns. I don't know what's wrong with me, kids. Let's go back up and edit this. Start over. I don't know why I said you had to have 5 equations. You don't. 4 variables is 4 equations. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having an extra equation. And I think this one actually requires it to make sense. Nope, I have a typo somewhere, don't I? Where's your 0, 1? That's supposed to be a 0. -4, 1, 0, 0. That's a 1. All right, I'm going to quit. I've already done this before in the previous problems. There's double RFA. And there's my answer. Now, notice the last equation is all zeroed. It's because you didn't actually need 5 equations. It's just telling you that you have a consistent system. That is the definition of consistency, isn't it? 0 equals 0 is true. All right, it's consistent. Focus on the first 4 rows. The first 4 rows are going to tell you what everything is. So remember, the first column was about pennies, the second column was about nickels, third one was dimes, fourth was quarters. So one, it's saying P is 16. It's saying nickels is 1. Dimes is 1. Sorry, dimes is 4. And quarters is 8. Now let's see if this makes sense. 8 quarters is going to be $2, right? 4 dimes is 40 cents, 0.4, a nickel, 0.05, and then we have 0.16 for pennies. So we got 240 here and 21 there, 261. And now we have the easiest question on the whole test. Legit easiest. So what's wrong with this? This is not a 0. And if you're not a 0, you are not a factor. Throw it away. Same thing there. Throw it away. You only care about zeros. Only zeros become factors. So this guy literally says x is 3. The factor has to be x minus 3. This guy literally says x is -1. The factor is x plus 1. This dude says x is 10. The factor is x minus 10, because that's how it works. You change the stinking sign. All right, so that's the end of the twin. I've still got to do all the bonus questions. I guess I'll do that next.